Okay, this video is going to explain how to make a deck truss bridge. So a deck truss, if you recall, is where the support is beneath the road deck. So the road deck is on top and all the support structure is down below. You will have your printout that you need. You need a ruler, a pencil, and the yellow build paper. I know this is not yellow, but all my markings show up easier on this, on video, on white. So first thing we have to do is determine the height of your deck truss. There is a minimum size requirement here that it makes it too small to build if you go below that. So on your paper, as you can see here, I have highlighted my road deck. This road deck piece is going to have to be your top beam. So this is a required part you must build. This must be included in your design. I have highlighted it to show it out a little easier in a video. Yours will not be highlighted. On that, you can see is the center mark. This is the very middle of your entire bridge. It is lined up right off of that mark. But to get to our minimums, we're gonna have to come over here. We'll mark it on our side so it's out of the way. The absolute minimum height for a deck truss is 5 rows. So what we're gonna do is come over here to the side, and we are going to count down 5 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At that bottom edge, we're gonna make a little line that comes over to the side. Scribble a little bit if you have to, and write min 5. So minimum 5. That's the absolute minimum thickness you can have for a deck truss. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to cut pieces to fit in here. Okay, I encourage you to go a little bit bigger just because it is so difficult. But that is our minimum. So at this point, what you first have to do is ask your partner and discuss with your partner, how tall do we want to make our bridge? Minimum 5. You have until your maximum, right down here if you want to mark, you have 1 box above the bottom of this land line. So here's the bottom of the land. You can go up 1 box above that, and that line is your maximum size. So your bridge has to be somewhere in between here for the depth of the support structure. Okay? Cannot go past this line, has to be at least this line. So discuss in there with your partner how big you want to make your deck truss, and we'll come back to you in just a second. Okay, once you have your deck truss height figured out, we're going to mark that here on the side. So let's say you and your partner have discussed and you want to make your bridge 10 rows thick, or 10 rows tall. So you're gonna come over here to the side. Here's 5, you're just gonna count down to 5 more. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're gonna put a little mark there. Okay, what you're gonna do here next to this on the paper is you're gonna outline 3 of those sides. So the bottom edge will be 10, and then you're gonna have 3 sides of this traced. Okay, the reason for that is this is how big our wood's actually gonna be. It's gonna be a full box wide. So we're just tracing that end there so that we know where our top edge and the bottom edge of our beam are gonna be. So again, count down how many rows. It's up to you. I chose 10. You can choose whichever, as long as it's at least 5 and no more than 1 past the one up from the bottom. Once you have that marked, what you're going to do is take your ruler, and we're going to line up with that C with the top edge first, and very lightly, we're going to start out lightly. We are just going to draw from our C across the paper, so that we can just barely see the line, so that we know where our bottom beam is going to be. And we'll do the same thing for the bottom edge of the C. Again, line up at the bottom edge, make sure your ruler is straight, and go very lightly a couple times across, just so you can see. You can see here, you can just begin to see my line. Okay, that's all we're going to do for now for that. It's just kind of a locating piece right now. We'll end up erasing some of the ends. The next part is we have to start marking out our connectors. Okay, our connectors on our bridge. So on our road deck, we've got our connectors here. That's where all of our parts attach. Now, on the computer, it worked to have that at the end. On ours, it won't. As you can see on our papers, we have the blocks that the bridge must sit on. So we cannot put parts right to the end, otherwise it won't fit. So you have to go in at least 7 boxes. I would recommend right at 7 boxes. So you have to come over 7 boxes for your first connector. So what we're going to do is count 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On that 7th box, I want you to shade that in carefully. Make sure you color within the lines. So 7 boxes in here. You're also going to come to the other end and do the same thing. Come over 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And shade in this 7th box. So once we have our end marks box here, our boxes marked, that's where our first connectors can be. We have to count how much space is between the middle of the bridge and the end mark. The reason for that is so that we can get our spacing of our connectors perfectly symmetrical across our bridge. On the computer, they're symmetrical. That's what made it so strong. We need that to happen here. So on your paper, this right here is the middle. So we have 3 sections on each half that are the same. So what we're going to do is count up this distance and end up dividing that by 3 to get our spacing. So go ahead with your partner and count out how many spaces. Counting this end one with a mark. So counting from here over to the center line. Go ahead and count that right now. So if you did your counting, you should have come up with 30 spaces. Okay, what we're going to do is divide that by the number of sections we have to make, which, as we said, is 3. 1, 2, 3. So 30 divided by 3, we know, is 10. Right? 10. That's 10 boxes. So what we're going to do on our design paper, we're going to start at this end box. We're going to count in 10 boxes and shade that box in. So we're going to come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to shade that box in carefully again. We're going to go over one more time to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're going to skip the middle for now, and we're going to come in from this end. Again, starting on this end mark, we made 7 boxes in. Now we count over 10 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, shade in the box. Make sure it's clean and neat and tidy. And I go over one more 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, for this last one in the middle, we have to, 10 is actually right at the edges here, so we're going to split this middle line. So we're very carefully just going to kind of come down in the middle of this box, in the middle of this box. We're just going to make an outline there of that so that we have our box in the middle. That is our middle connection. Okay. Once you have that, now we need to find our markings on the bottom beam. Again, remember we drew that down here. So if we're looking here, we have all diagonal connections to the bottom. So on our printout, so we just marked these connectors up top on the road deck. All of our bottom connections are in the middle. They're straight down from the number. They are centered in between, okay? So if each section is 10 wide on the top, that means the bottom is only 5 over. So what we're going to do on our design sheet, and as you notice, again, this is our first one. So on our design sheet, this is our first connector. That is this one that's 7 in. So our first bottom connector is inside the second top connector. Okay, so you gotta pay attention. That's on my design. Some of yours might be out here, and that's totally fine. Mine's in just a little bit. So if I'm following my design, I have to pay attention to which connectors it's between and come down. So my first bottom connector is in between my second and third top connectors. So I'm gonna come over, here's my second and third top connector. I count 5 in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I follow that straight down to my bottom row. I'm then going to shade in that box on the bottom row. So this box here is this connector here. I'm just going to do the same thing then in between. My next one is 5 over. So I come up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and straight down. You can count just 10 over from here if you want to. 5 takes less counting. Again, come over here between this second and third. Come over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, straight down. And come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and straight down. So this matches my 4 connectors on the bottom here to my 4 connectors on my design sheet. That's the main part. What we can do then after we have those connectors marked is erase any extra on our design sheet. This is why we drew that lightly to begin with. So anything outside those connections we can move out of the way. All right. Then what we're going to do is go back over the top and bottom line that connects these so that we have a solid beam. So again, connect them, make sure your ruler is straight, go over them a little bit heavier so that we can see that bottom beam nice and clearly. To connect these then, we're going to have to draw some angles. So we're going to start with our main angles here. We're going to leave off the extreme end one till the very end, because they're also going to, that's going to be our last ones that we build. So we're going to start with those angles. We have to pick which ones are our main beams that are going to connect fully top to bottom, and which ones are going to connect to the other beams. So what I like to do is pick the same direction beam for the end. So on this one here, I'm going to pick this beam that runs this way and this beam that runs this way. They will be my main top to bottom beams. This beam here in the middle is going to connect between the two. On this other side, I'm going to do the opposite. So I'll do this one and this one are our main beams. This one in the middle is going to connect between the two. For our middle section, we just have to pick one because they're both going to connect to the other beam here. They're going to connect to the side of these beams. We just have to pick whichever one we want. So in this case, I'll pick this end here. Okay, just this end, not down here, because that's going to attach to this other beam. So we'll do our main primary vertical beams first. These are our primary beams. These will be our secondary beams. So starting with our primary, they're going to connect top to bottom. So coming to our design sheet, we're going to connect this one to here, this one to here, and then this one to here, and this one to here. When we do this, we want to pay attention to the corners of our squares. So I'm going to connect the bottom left corner of this top beam to the top right corner of the bottom beam. We cannot go through these boxes because this is going to be solid wood. You cannot connect a line to the back corners. It's only in between the beams. So I'm going to line up my bottom left here, so bottom left corner to the top left corner. I'm going to get my ruler lined up, my pencil on the corner. I go lightly first just to make sure it's lined up. And I can go a little bit darker then for that edge. Then I come over the bottom right corner to the top right corner. You notice I'm not going through the wood. I'm stopping at the corner, at the surface of that part between. So now this part I drew is what my wood's gonna look like. It's still 1/8 of an inch wide, just like the rest of them. It's just right here. I do the same exact setup here for my next primary. Bottom left to top left. Again, get it lined up. Mark it, bottom right to top right. Line them up and mark it. We're gonna do the same thing over here, but the opposite direction. So now these go this way, okay? So this is bottom left to top left. Bottom right to top right. Bottom left, top left. Bottom right, top right. So now that our primaries are done, our main primaries, we have to do our middle one. So we said on here that this one will connect to the main, be the primary, but it'll connect up here to the top. So it will connect up here to this middle part. So these bottom corners right here and right here. It's going to connect over here though on this beam. So we're going to take a corner of our primary down here. So erase those marks so they're out of the way. I'm going to line up this corner with the very bottom corner. And we'll mark that. So notice it does not connect here. It's going to connect up the side. So I take this corner. Now for this one, you're going to have to kind of eyeball a little bit. You really can eye it though where this one box up. Where one box up meets this edge. That's about where it's going to be. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, make sure I've got it even right there. So you see where this piece connects to the side and the top. The rest of them are all going to be either true secondary beams or they connect to the primary. So what we're going to do here, this one goes diagonally. So this top corner, right here, this top corner of the two parts is going to go one line up along this edge. So one box up along this edge. So I got one box up here, line up my ruler with the top corner of this junction there. And now I'm going to go the bottom corner to one line down along this edge. So one line down, bottom corner. I've drawn it. And now you can see I have these edges very clearly from my primary beam, so this piece wedges in between. Alright, over here, same basic premise. Top corner to one box up. One box down to bottom corner. Again, it's in between those parts. This one, I do the same thing now in between both of these. So one box up to the top corner, one box down to the bottom corner. That is the main center part of my bridge. Now I got to do my end pieces here. Those end pieces are going to connect from down here at the end of the bottom beam to this first connection here. So again, we're going to start with the bottom corners here. So bottom left, bottom right. We're going to connect them to the end corners on the bottom here. So my bottom left corner of my bottom beam is going to connect to the bottom left corner up here. So we'll line it up. Make sure it connects. Top left corner of the bottom beam connects to the bottom right up here. So it looks like that. We do the same thing over here, just opposite directions. Top corner of the bottom goes to the bottom left on top. The bottom right corner of the top goes to the bottom right corner of the main beam. I got a little squeeze on that just because my pencil's getting a little thick and it's a little harder to get in there. But this is our deck truss with diagonal beams. There you go.